life. Much appreciated that you're all here. Probably, for a person age 98, just the sheer number of people here is probably more a testament to how popular and good she was than any. I'll be fine. than anything I can say, but I'll give it a go. And by the way, if anyone does want to come up and say a few words when I'm done, feel free. Very informal, but don't feel obligated, because I told my family to signal me when I'm done, when I'm too long anyway. I have many stories and not enough to tell, so I'll have to cut some out. Anyway, so even Mom has finally passed. Even with some recent decline in her health, she was, very vibrant and full of life and happy for a long, long time. And I think her energetic, upbeat style, didn't age her. And, a lot of people thought, well, she's still got many years to go. But alas, even Mom is human, and so her life here on earth is ended. But as we know, a new life begins on high, so good for her. So as I've done for my dad and my sister, I'll do a little chronological history of Mom's life, mixing in a few stories, and then maybe kind of some concluding stories at the end. Can you hear me okay? Mm-hmm. All right. And some people know me that I ask a lot of questions, and I'm always interested in people's history, as I'll summarize here for Mom, because I think it tells a lot about a person and how their life is shaped, how their values, their characters develop. So maybe we'll glean something from Mom's story. Anyway, she was born April 3rd, 1921 in Royston, Germany. And by the way, so, she just turned 98 3 weeks ago. She was at our house. She was still, up and around and doing pretty well. So it's just the last few weeks that she's kind of gone downhill. But she was born April 3rd, 1921 in Royston, Germany, the tiny farming hamlet in the Schwäbische area of southwest Germany on the edge of the Schwarzwald, or Black Forest. That was a very tranquil part of Germany, a farming area, where at least in those days, people spoke kind of slowly, and the pace was a little more rural than more, say, in the industrial north. People spoke with a southern drawl, the Schwäbisch dialect, much like our country. Kind of the north is a little bit more fast-paced, and the south a little bit more, slow is not the right word, but
Relaxed.
Yes, because many of you know, we all like North Carolina, so we like their pace. All right. Anyway, the area Mom lived in was, kind of postcard-like, very storybook-like, rolling hills, very tranquil and peaceful. When she was 4, her father went to the U.S. to get a foothold there and plans of moving the whole family. It was just she and her 2 parents and her grandma that they lived with. When she was 9, her mother left for America to get kind of the household set and things going. So at that point, she already had not seen her father for 5 years. And then when Mom was 13, her mother came back to get her, to bring her to America on the Queen. It was either the Queen Mary or the Queen Elizabeth. But Mom liked to tell the story that she would tell all her friends, "I'm not going. I'm staying here. I'm not going to America." And of course, her mother had other ideas, and she went. So, but while in Germany, she loved living with her grandmother and her cat on their farm. Their house had the ground floor actually was livestock, and then the people lived in the upper quarters. And I think after Mom and Dad went to America, some farm hands ran the farm, and she and her mom chipped in. She and her grandma did what they could. She loved living with her grandmother and her best friend Berta, who I'll talk about more later, and whose family we are still in touch with today. She had a special relationship with her teacher there, who taught all grades in their one-room schoolhouse. I mean, maybe multiple rooms, but one teacher and one school. There was just one church in the town, right in the center of town, a Lutheran church, which then was Mom's faith for her whole life. I think I was there, and you can see the inscription over the door. I don't remember exactly, but I think it was built in 1507. A very humble church, not too fancy, but old and interesting. Mom, despite her longevity, had a lot of sort of near misses with health. Sometimes we said she had like 9 lives, and one of them was there growing up where she fell down the quarry and down into a bed of rocks and got a concussion and was quite severely hurt, but she survived. Okay, on to the U.S., 1934. At age 13, at the immigration authorities in New York City, in those days when they changed people's names to Americanize them, her real name, which was Lori Mueller, or it was L-O-R-E, with the umlaut over the O, or 2 dots over the O. So Lori became Laura, and Mueller, M-U, umlaut, L-L-E-R, became Miller. So Lori Mueller became Laura Miller. And she was then reunited in Rochester with her father, who she hadn't seen now in 9 years. And well, Mom brought her over on the boat. And they lived on Conkey Avenue in the city, which had a certain section of German people. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later too. They lived in a double house and rented out half of it to supplement their income. Mom went to Franklin High School, and she took German class in order to learn English. She got an A+ in German. And Mom was fond of telling a story that you may have heard, even though she was very bright and all that and spoke English very well. She was always saying "ja" instead of "yes." And so the teacher, one day the teacher got fed up reading class and said, "Laura, you're always saying "ja." You need to say yes. You need to promise now to say yes from now on." And of course, Mom said, "Yeah." And the whole class laughed. Okay. 1935, Mom was 15. Her brother Walter was born. Her only sibling, so he was born in the U.S., although never spoke English until he went to kindergarten, because German was the language of the house. 15 years her junior, she loved him very much, truly, as a baby brother. And she was his main babysitter through the years. Okay, 1938, Mom was 17 years old. She met the handsome, dashing, and charming Bill Kubanka, who also lived in the neighborhood there around Conkey Avenue. He was on Avenue B. He was 24 and drove a flashy yellow 1932 Chevy Coupe with rumble seat. It would be a 7-year courtship before they married, and then another 10 years before they would have children. Just another story from Mom, kind of sweet. Occasionally they would go with friends to a downtown hotel bar where the bartender would greet Mom always with the name Ginger, because that's all Mom drank was ginger ale. We'll get to the Manhattans later. Okay, 1941, she was age 20. I'm supposed to be signaled. I'm going to get my clock. Age 20, 1941, she started working at Kodak. On a 14-year tenure there at Kodak. Mom didn't go to college, but as she often said, she went to the school of hard knocks and had a few odd jobs before she started at Kodak. There she worked in an assembly area of mostly women because it was an area where you needed good finger dexterity. And she rose to the rank of group leader at the Camera Works plant on State Street, which is now Kodak office and MCC, I think. And that was not an easy task, actually, to be promoted as she was, because she was so young. And Germans were not particularly popular in those war times. So she did well, I think, with her personality and the knowledge of her job. Around 1942, around when she was 21, she was in a terrible accident, auto pedestrian accident. One of her sort of 9 lives. She was walking along the street and she was hit by a car. And it was a drunk driver. And luckily, the driver at least had the wherewithal to pull over. He realized he hit someone. And he ran to a nearby house and they summoned whatever sort of ambulance they had in those days. So she was taken to the hospital where she was for 6 weeks with many internal, external injuries, including some disfiguration of her face. And they did some kind of experimental surgery then, plastic surgery, which was mostly successful. But those of you who know her from younger days may remember she had kind of an uneven lip on one side where they couldn't quite sew it back together straight. With age, that blended into wrinkles, so it became not an issue. But that was a significant event for her. But again, she came out with flying colors. The family moved to Highland Avenue up near Highland Park. Later, Laura and Bill lived in, when they got married later, in the upstairs apartment. Years later, my niece Lorian lived there, and the house is still in the family. So that was Mom's second house. In 1945, at age 24, they married, Bill and Laura. They had a small wedding at the parish house of Mom's church, St. Matthew's Lutheran Church on St. Paul Street at Clifford Avenue, which would be her church for the next 67 years since she got to the U.S. The reception was at Lorenzo's, a popular and elegant restaurant at the time. We might have had the sort of a picture Lorenzo's photo out there, I'm not sure. Mom's father died in this time frame, so I think he was only around 50, so that was a loss for her. Anyway, around 1949, age 26, they moved to Winchester Road in Arundecoit, and a relatively new suburb at the time, and then they maybe I have my years mixed up, but that's where they lived for the next 67 years, or at least Mom did. Mom's cousin Irma, or Irma as she pronounced it, or Aunt Irma to me, immigrated to America. I wrote immigrated to America from Switzerland. And she lived with Mom and Dad for about a year before meeting her future husband and moving to California. And Mom remained close to Aunt Irma and her family throughout the years and to this day. Okay, 1952, Mom was 31. She and her mother vacationed in Germany, their first visit home since leaving for America 18 years earlier. It was, of course, heartwarming to see friends, but difficult to see a lot of the bombed out buildings and damage there from the war. Although Mom's, quiet hometown was basically unscathed. 1955, daughter Diane was born. Mom left Kodak at that time and never returned to Kodak as she decided to be a stay-at-home mom, although she did other things you'll hear about. And then 2 years later, I was born. So that was the two of us. And then for the next 18 years or so, Mom lived what could be called kind of a typical suburban life in some ways, with school, church, family events, immediate and extended, pretty much being our lifestyle. Mom was the traditional domestic wife and mother of the era, taking care of household chores, child-rearing things. Just a few stories from there, maybe just one, so I don't waste too much time. Mom liked coffee, as some of you may know. She drank a lot of coffee, and she would, talking to anyone or neighbor, playing Password on the TV show on TV. She would frequently be holding her cup of coffee out here and talking to someone or watching TV, and she starts tipping the glass a little bit, and the coffee, gets right to the edge, and it kind of beads up. The coffee's actually over the top of the cup. But I never saw it spill. She just had this knack of holding the coffee. Anyway, Mom loved being a mom. Whenever school resumed in the fall, other mothers would rejoice and Mom would cry, and she would say that herself. I didn't realize Mom had a German accent until I was about 15. I guess it was fairly mild, but then I listened for it, then I could hear it. But besides home and family, Mom did a lot more. She served as a good aunt who often had nieces visiting with her, and I think who valued her insights and support. And then Mom and Dad had the apartments, which some of you know about as rental properties that they owned. Oftentimes they had 3 or 4 at a time scattered around the city, and Mom did a lot of work there. She worked very hard, while Dad, and I know because I was there helping much of the time, while Dad did more the mechanical thing, he cut the grass and whatnot, Mom did cleaning and painting. She was a specialist in painting. She liked it and she was good at it. Garden work, raking, and the business side of things, the rental agreements. So she was very very busy with that. But the work, you know, those of you maybe, well, who have rental property or your own home, it's a lot. I mean, Mom worked very hard. I can remember one time cleaning blinds from an apartment where a tenant had moved who was a smoker, and the blinds were all covered with, smoke, dirt, and scum-like. And the bathtub water, Mom put a heavy-duty detergent in there to clean it, and we kept cutting our fingers on the blinds, and the soap would get in there, and it was awful. Anyway, the moral of my story is Mom worked very hard. Okay, but in reward for the hard work, Mom believed in some rewards. One was dessert. We always had dessert for lunch and dinner. Usually a modest dessert, for lunch maybe one cookie. For dinner, maybe Jell-O or fruit, not always sweets and massive pieces of dessert, but something, a treat. Mom believed in a treat when you were working hard. And the other main treat, I think, was family vacations. Mom and Dad were very big on family vacations. We went multiple trips to the Adirondacks, 1,000 Islands, Lake George, as well as longer jaunts to Maine, New Hampshire, West Virginia, Kentucky, Michigan, a lot of places. Sometimes we stayed in motels, sometimes those $6 a night cabins that they used to have up in the Adirondacks. And other times we had our small travel trailer for camping. All were very nice. But our road trips out west were probably the keystone trips. They were really terrific. 3 times we drove cross-country to California, Arizona, to visit Aunt Irma and family, and Uncle Walter, who was in Arizona. And Dad planned the trip so that each route was different each time, so we hit just about every state in the Union on those trips. It was really spectacular. Some wonderful individual stories, which I think I will skip for now. 1975, and Mom was 54 now. Diane was married in August 1975, and I went off to my freshman year in college 2 days later. So that was a tough few days for Mom, as her cherished children both left the roost within a few days. Then a few months later, Mom's mother died, my grandmother, at age 79. That was sad because my grandma had gone off to California on a plane, I think her first plane trip, and she got some sort of abdominal attack there and needed emergency surgery and did not pull through. So, she was perfectly healthy, and Mom wasn't there. I'm not so bad, but it was hard for her, just as it is for me telling it, very hard. So she lost both of her parents, either young or surprisingly. Over the next 10 years or so, Mom worked as a nanny, housekeeper, homemaid at several homes in Arundequoit. Another vacation to Germany, this time with Dad and Diane and me. And had a very wonderful, heartwarming meeting with her friend Berta in her tiny little town in the middle of the Black Forest. In the middle of the night we arrived, and first time they'd seen each other in 28 years. It was very nice. Then the rest of Mom's life, I'm grouping together as her retirement years, or golden years, as they say. This included vacations in Europe, Hawaii, another Western road trip. This one, Mom came with my family, Evelyn and me and the 4 boys, to go out to Lorian and Dan's wedding in San Diego. Well, we did fly to Denver, but then we rented a car and drove 6,000 miles all around the west, north, south, east, west, stopping, as my dad had, at all the key national parks and sites and things like that. Really spectacular. And there was Mom at about age 90, right with us. The boys will probably laugh at this one, but were always playing the song as we got into the car on the road again by Willie Nelson. And now I have put the words somewhere else. Let me just see. But I thought this was kind of typical of Mom. Anyway, I'm not seeing it, but the words were something like going places we've never been and seeing things we might never see again. And I think that was pretty typical of Mom. You know, one of the things that kept her young. You know, just keep seeing new things. You know, don't just hang out wherever little tiny world, but she had a pretty expansive world from her roots in Germany to other places. Okay. And there was kind of a sad time. Dad went to the nursing home, that is, you know, Mom's husband, for 7 years after he had a stroke in 2004. My sister Diane died at age 50 after a bout with cancer. Of course, that was very challenging. Mom's 1-year-old great-grandson Lucas died at a babysitter. That was terrible. Then Dad died. Then Brother Walt died. And this was all in a span of about 5 years. So it was a tough time for Mom. You know, she's in her 80s, but you know, Mom, resilient. So she comes back, and not only is she full of life again herself, I think it's fair to say for Lori and Tiffany, she helped fill the void of her mother, of their mother. And again, tough in your 80s to be a sort of a mother again. So, but she did it. Okay, moving on. So that's her chronological life. Let me just go through some of her traits and funny things about her. Most of you know most of this, but I'll try to add. You know, she had a very sharp wit, well into her 90s, a soft, kind heart, upbeat personality, genuine and happy smile, and she was funny. She seemed to be able to relate to almost anyone, especially younger people, which is a good thing since she lived to 98 there, because everybody was young. But I know one of my sons even said, you know, I can relate to Grandma, and if she was my age, you know, she'd probably be a buddy, and we'd be hanging out, we'd be friends. So, she was just like that. Mom had an engaging style, whether in conversation or in writing. Whether it was in some of her roles as Cub Scout newsletter writer, or church newsletter writer, or church council secretary, Mom's editions, of course I'm biased, but Mom's editions were better than others because she injected her own style and spirit rather than kind of sticking to the script. You know, Mom was not afraid to be bold. That was part of her appeal, honest, straightforward. Many people find it difficult, I think, to express their true feelings on difficult or sensitive issues, but Mom did not. She said what was important to say, maybe a bit blunt at times, but generally tactfully. Mom's life is, I think, maybe a good blueprint if you want to live a long and healthy life, both physically and mentally. And some of the key attributes I wrote down: focus on family, friends, and faith, everything in moderation, work hard but celebrate, and have a positive, upbeat attitude. On the everything in moderation, growing up, very few processed foods in the house. It was mostly fruits and vegetables and chicken, meat, fish. We had no chips ever, no soda ever, except for parties. Okay, and basically eat healthy and you stay healthy. The Manhattans. So later in life, Mom liked to sip a Manhattan, but usually at the most once a week if there was a party, or if she just came over on a Sunday afternoon for no reason. Maybe 2 Manhattans, but that was her limit because, in her own words, otherwise she'd be looped, or 3 sheets to the wind. In fact, I was talking to a few of you earlier. One of her favorite restaurants was Phillips European. And the owner there got to know Mom and her love of Manhattans, and he made some kind of deal with her that she could have free Manhattans for a year. So, one free Manhattan per visit. That's all she would have anyway. But And so, she did. She would go to Phillips European and get her one Manhattan. And I guess one time, someone was saying the owner even came out into the parking lot, saw her coming, and delivered the Manhattan. In the parking lot. So that's what she liked. Talking a little bit about her faith, which was, I think, besides just inherently spiritual, her church was always Lutheran, starting with the Lutheran Church in Germany, and then St. Matthew's. She loved St. Matthew's, the people there, some of whom are here, the congregation. I know the congregation and your faith to God is the most important, but we all loved that facility too. It had a wonderful organ and piano and sculpture. I can remember some wonderful Good Fridays where it was storming outside, and in the kind of dark, heavy church that it was, though beautiful, it really seemed like the real Good Friday there. Not a happy time, but kind of heavy and dark. But then 3 days later, of course, it would be nice. A personal memory, after Sunday church, we'd often stop somewhere on Hudson Avenue or Clinton Avenue, where they had a number of Jewish bakeries and Italian bakeries that were open Sundays, and we'd buy a loaf of bread and just rip it apart and eat the bread in the car on the way home from church. So that was nice. Later, Mom went to Faith Lutheran Church, and because St. Matthew's closed, and a number of parishioners transferred there, and again, the people at Faith were wonderful to Mom, and she really enjoyed worshiping there. The people and the message was excellent. So again, different congregations, but kind of the same good result. Mom loved her German heritage. I've got a number of things here. I told you how she sort of loved her storybook child home. In fact, she often said, I'm lucky I have two homes. I have my German childhood home, and then I have my American home. And I would ask her, well, which one, if you had to pick one, which is your real home? And she said, I don't want to pick, I have two homes. And I said, well, if someone forced you to, or if they gave you $1 million if you picked one, which one would you pick? And she said, well, I'd pick America, because that's where I met my husband and had my children. Anyway, once she got to the U.S., she was in the Schwabenverein German Society all of her life here. And as a family, we can remember going to Christmas parties and summer steak roasts with that group. At the German House on Gregory Street, which I'm not sure if it's open right now, but it's had various restaurants and things over the years. Well, it really was just the German House when Mom was young. It was run by the German societies, and they had all kinds of German events there, and including plays. And Mom was often the lead actress in all the plays there. And I've seen the playbills, because the Schwabenverein has them. And it's funny because every playbill is a different name. Sometimes it was her German name, sometimes her American name. Lori Mueller, Laura Kubanka, Lori Miller, and every combination. But they were all her. She had numerous stage names. Those plays, did not have singing parts. Mom loved to sing, and a few stories here, but some would say she could not sing. So she tried, but a little trouble holding a tune. Anyway, another nice German thing, the German package, which some of you may have heard about. Again, after the war, Mom sent these Christmas packages to her friends, to Bertha's family in Germany, with some supply type things that were in short supply in Germany, things like coffee and stuff. And when the German country got back on its feet, then Bertha started sending us a package. So there were these, so what we called it the German package. I learned later from Bertha's children that, well, they called it the American package. And this went on for many years, and even though Bertha died, we continue the tradition today. We create a German package, and even Bertha's grandson, who we have met on some of our travels, he stopped at our house once, and he sent us a German package. In fact, because he met Mom in Germany, he was impressed with Mom. They needed a pen pal for some school assignment, and he picked Mom. and they corresponded. And they wrote about the German package that I just, so it's almost like one of those Christmas movies, you know, the German package. So it was nice. Friends would sometimes call Mom Lorelei, which is a famous spot along the Rhine in Germany, or Lori from Tori, which I don't know the background on that one, but her German friends would say that. Mom was funny. If she encountered a man doing a nice thing or a good deed at church or at a party or something, and she found out he was of German descent, she would say, he's a Dutchman. Mom loved German sausage from the German sausage shops, particularly liverwurst, Leona, which is like bologna, and then this other variety, which I think is as awful as its name, blood and tongue. Now, some of you Germans back there might like it, and Mom loved it, but not my favorite. But she also liked the other German classics, German potato salad, Pasnaskichle, which is like fried dough here, German pancakes. Mom's, and she made all of these things. German pancakes, you might know, they're big. They tend to take up a full dinner plate. They're not so fluffy and spongy like American ones. They're more solid, but I like them better myself. And then, of course, like most good Germans, she liked sauerkraut and red cabbage. One story about her potato salad, which most people would say was excellent. I mean, that's what she always brought to picnics and parties, and you know, if an event was in the planning stages, you know, Mom, bring your German potato salad. Each part of Germany has kind of a different recipe, a different style, and I like some of the others, but I have to say I like Mom's a lot. Her the Schwaben version and Mom's version, very good. For many, many years at the German house, they would have a Valentine's Day party, and Mom was tasked to make 40 pounds of potato salad. And I remember, well, as a youngster, the house being filled up with the smell of oil and whatever else goes into it, and then lugging up these bin after bin of potato salad up the stairs to the party room at the German house. Let me check my time here. Just very quickly, other things that Mom liked, she liked going to our cabin up near Kubanka, especially when I played harmonica around the campfire. She liked the wineries, and one time stands out at Gold Seal Winery, which is now closed. They had an open porch where they served unlimited those days, champagne and snacks, and she was there with Aunt Irma and someone else. Oh, my grandmother. And they were singing German songs for a long time. They had too much to drink. Another one of Mom's 9 lives, she had a bad habit of relabeling bottles with a piece of masking tape and putting things, I don't know, that maybe to get a smaller bottle into a big bottle goes home. Anyway, she takes a glass of ginger ale one day and takes a big gulp. I don't know, she was thirsty. And you know, it was awful. It was like poison. She immediately got sick and spit it out, but it was too late. The lunch went down. And all of a sudden, all this foam starts coming out of her mouth. This was like age 80 or 85. And then this white stuff comes out of her, like a long strand, like yards and yards and yards of something. And it turns out she had put rug cleaner in the and despite the initial stomachache, she was fine. I guess it cleaned her out. Okay. Mom could not swim. Okay, what else did she like? Mountains. Oh, that sort of French beret hat she liked. Fruits. She liked to go anywhere and pull fruits off some trees in the wild and eat it. We had a cherry tree in our backyard on Winchester Road. That was nice. I used to bring strawberries from the farm I worked on. Down on the Finger Lakes, you know, she said, "Oh, there's some grapes. Just stop. Pull over." I said, "Mom, it's just not your grapes." You know? I don't care. It's got pesticides over it. I don't care. All right, so we would let her out, and then we'd drive down a little bit. She would take the grapes, and or she was fine. She liked picking oranges in Aunt Irma's orange grove in the backyard of Aunt Irma's house, and buying apples and peaches along Route 104. Oh, and then there was the gang, some of whom were here today, the German gang from the old neighborhood stayed together as friends for years. This was the Wolfgangers, the Hergesel, the Schwinns, the Steelers, and us, the Kubankas. It was the families of 4 German boys who grew up in the neighborhood and 1 German girl. Mom. So we had good times all through the years with them. Two more things, and then I'll stop. And some people have heard this story, but I like it. One time Mom was about 94 and she was in the hospital. She had chest pains, so the ambulance took her. And the devices, the monitors were all going wild with crazy gyrations because she had atrial fibrillation. Her heart was only working at 30%. But she was in a good mood. She was sharp, and the staff liked her, the doctors and the nurses. So, there was one doctor, one nurse, then another comes in, then another. And they were just all standing around, enjoying Mom's stories. And they were telling, boy, she's cute. Boy, she has a lot of energy. Boy, her heart's about failing, and here she's in a good mood. And so one of them asked Mom, well, have you had any recent falls? And she said, well, I did have one recently. It was around Christmas time, and I was up in the attic to get some coats to bring to the Salvation Army, as a donation. And I'm coming down into the narrow, kind of steep attic stairs, and she lost her balance with all these coats slung over her shoulder, and she tumbled forward. But all the coats tumbled in front of her and laid a nice soft path, and she just rolled down and popped up on her feet, and it was fine. And she told the staff there, well, I guess I was doing a good deed, so the Lord was looking over. Okay. Mom and Dad were great parents, similar in work ethic and in what they enjoyed. Slightly different in personality, but good. But I just want to read a few words. Some of you might have seen on the obituary. Some of the grandchildren wrote some nice things about Grandma. And I'm just going to read a few words, which I think demonstrates what she meant to them. Guiding light, upbeat, life of the party, brightened up the room, calming presence, positive, always looking forward, lived in the moment, countless laughs, enjoyed hanging out. She's a treasure, funny, sweet, intelligent, beautiful, strong, gleam in her eyes. Thanks for teaching us the values of hard work, loyalty, education, resilience, and love. Might get repetitive here. Loving, loyal, supportive, my hero, my best friend. Encouraged me to improve. Her strength was remarkable, her joy was remarkable, her beauty sparkled. Truly astounding. So with that, I will stop and wish Mom well up with Dad and Uncle Walt and Lucas and Diane and others. And thanks again for coming.